Hey, Ronnie here. In this video, I'm going to cover all-terrain versus mud terrain. So if you need help to decide which tyre to use, stay tuned. Subscribers, welcome back. First time viewers, g'day. I'm Ronnie from fourwheelinginwesternaustralia.com, the four-wheel drive and camping information website assisting you to get out there into the wilderness. Firstly, we're going to do a comparison on how each handles on each terrain. So we'll start with road. Excellent, still pretty damn good. So on the road, mud terrain are still pretty damn good, but the all-terrain are excellent. Gravel roads, same, pretty much on par. They handle both equally as well. Sand, all-terrain, excellent. Mud terrain, surprisingly still excellent. You may need to take a few more PSI out of a mud terrain when it comes to sand, but they act just as well as all-terrain. Now, I'm sure you have heard people saying at the tyre place or whatever that these are rubbish in sand. The mud terrain is. They are not. What they're saying is rubbish. I have a video just on that right here. So check that out if you want to know more about mud terrain in sand. Now, mud is where we start seeing a big difference compared to the two. All-terrain in mud, absolutely useless. Becomes a racing slick so quickly. Mud terrain, well, they're called mud terrain, so they're bloody good at mud. Mainly because of the lugs. They've got bigger gaps between the lugs, so they eject a lot of, rocks, dirt, mud, etc. Self-cleaning, it's like a self-cleaning mechanism. You do need to spin them to clean them, but that is why these are called mud terrains and why they are so good at mud. Now, if you're in the real fixed stuff where you can't spin your tyres or anything for that reason, you're still going to get a racing slick out of these. But these are much better than those in mud. Then we come to rocks. These are still good on rocks. These are much better on rocks. When I say much better is because of the tread blocks, there's a bigger gap. It allows more grip on the actual rock. Whereas the tread blocks on here, they're so close together, these almost resemble they actually resemble halfway between a mud tyre and a road tyre. So they're still good on rocks, but not as good as, they don't get as much traction as a mud terrain will get. And then we have snow. I wouldn't have a bloody clue what they do in snow because we got no snow here in Western Australia, so I can't help you there. Pros and cons. So pros and cons when it comes to all-terrain and a mud terrain. Let's start with noisy. Well, these are noisier than a passenger tyre, but nowhere near as noisy as a mud terrain. It will also depend on the brand. You can actually get some all-terrains that are as noisy as the quieter end of the mud terrains. So to find out which tyre is quieter, you're really going to have to check out some tyre reviews. We do have tyre reviews, by the way. You can go in there yourself and put a tyre review as well, but the link's down below. Check it out afterwards. Fuel usage, the mud terrain will use slightly more fuel than the all-terrain due to the tread pattern. The rolling resistance is a bit harder on the mud terrain, which is why it uses a little bit more fuel. Longevity. With the all-terrain, it'll kick ass over the mud terrain for the amount of kilometres and mileage you can get. You should get, for a decent set of all-terrains, about 70,000 kilometres, which is roughly about 43,000 miles, I believe, as opposed to a mud terrain where you'd be lucky to get 50,000 usable kilometres, which is about 30,000 miles, maybe 31,000 miles of usage out of them, like proper good traction usage. So therefore you do suffer for the extra traction in the mud terrain. Tyre pressures when it comes to your all-terrain and your mud terrain, there can be a difference. If you have a heavy vehicle like a 3-ton cruiser like I have, be careful not to go too low on your all-terrain. And if you have a very light vehicle like a Nissan Navara or a Toyota Hilux, be careful not to go too high with tyre pressure because the sidewalls are stronger and without any weight, you're not going to get the good footprint out of it. Now that you're armed with the information of what each tyre is capable of and what you're sacrificing, like for example with this one here, you get longer life where you're sacrificing traction, whereas you get a shorter life, but you're getting extra traction. So, you know, you can't have best of both worlds, unfortunately. But there are still two major questions you need to ask yourself, and that will then help you choose which tyre, all-terrain or mud-terrain. Now, the first question is, how often do you actually go four-wheel driving or four-wheeling? If you only go once every 2 months, once every 3 months, all-terrain, because it'll last longer for you. If you go very often, like once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month, that's still pretty often, I'll go a mud terrain, because these are good on any terrain. These are good on. Yes, you will get reduced wear quicker, but you're going to get that extra traction every time you go off-road, and you're a frequent goer, mud terrain. Not so frequent goer, all-terrain. Where do you actually go most of the time? So I'm talking, you know, if you go somewhere 75% of the time, roughly, if your driving is mainly touring or beach fishing, gravel roads, go on all-terrain, because you're going to get a lot more Ks out of it, especially for touring. You know, you're going long distances, and mainly that's going to be on the highway, on the gravel roads, stuff like that. Now, if you do everything, if you do beach, outback, you're in the hills on the winter trips, go to mud terrain, because you're going to get the benefits of that traction. These will get you further in off-road situations. If you're on your own in the middle of the outback, you want something that's puncture resistant. You want something that's going to keep you going. These will outlast an all-terrain when it comes to off-road conditions, just due to the strength of the tyre, the build, the side biters, much more durable off-road, much better for your long trips. I hope that helps you make a decision. There is actually another thing you need to consider. Which brand are you going to go for? Because there's so many brands, and it's very hard to get an honest review from the actual tyre manufacturer, because they're all going to say their tyre is the best. Rightio folks, well, I hope I've helped you make a decision, a correct decision, on whether you should get an all-terrain or a mud terrain. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments below, and if you have any more pros and cons, or even just your opinion, put them in the comments below. Always like to hear from you, and always read the comments. So thanks again for watching. You can subscribe right here. And as I mentioned before, there are plenty of links down below for lots more information on tyres and even tyre reviews. So go check it out. Rightio, take care out in the tracks and trails, and I might catch you out there. See ya.